and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims, and every other Friday, I bring you a short episode with the top diabetes stories and headlines happening now. Our top story this week, Eli Lilly takes the first steps toward getting tirzepatide approved for people with type 1 diabetes. Tirzepatide is sold under the brand names Mounjaro for type 2 and Zepbound for obesity. The main purpose of this study is to find out how well and how safely tirzepatide works in adults who have type 1 and obesity or are overweight. Participation will last about 49 weeks. This is a big deal because even though many people with type 1 are able to get a prescription for tirzepatide, it's not approved for type 1, so insurers won't usually cover it. You can find out more. I've got the link for the clinical trial in the show notes for this episode. And the use of drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro in people with type 1 diabetes has risen sharply over the past decade, even though there's little information on the drug's safety and effectiveness for the condition. Clinical trials of these medications have specifically included people with type 1. This study was published last month in the journal Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism. Researchers at Johns Hopkins reviewed the medical records of more than 200,000 people with type 1 from 2008 to 2023. Among adults with the highest category of obesity, about 4% used GLP-1 medications in 2008, 33% did by 2023, an 800% increase. These are anecdotal reports. They may not reflect instances in which people have side effects or complications. These researchers say what's really needed is information from randomized, double-blinded studies. You can go back to our top story to see that that is now moving forward. Later this month, the FDA will conduct a final meeting regarding a new investigational compound, sotagliflozin, that has been shown to improve quality of life and reduce long-term complications for people with type 1. The patient advocacy group Taking Control of Your Diabetes, TCOYD, is working to inform the community about this and to encourage people to sign a change.org petition directed toward the FDA. TCOYD says, quote, last fall, the FDA declined to approve sotagliflozin due to concerns about a potential increased risk of DKA, despite this being a condition that people with type 1 on insulin face and manage daily. While TCOYD respects FDA's caution, the group stands by T1D patients and their physicians who, as a team, balance risks and benefits every day. Find out more and check out the petition in the show notes. Dexcom receives FDA approval for its G7 with 15-day wear. We have an interview with Chief Operating Officer Jake Leach coming up on Tuesday. We talk about the planned rollout of this sensor. It is coming later this year. What else has changed? And the fine print in the press release. The press release says, quote, when using the product per package labeling, approximately 26% of sensors may not last for the full 15 days. Leach tells me that they are very aware of this. They put it in the press release. And he says they're working with insurance companies and with their replacement department to make sure that no one is left without a sensor when the product doesn't last. It is also worth noting that the 15-day G7 is not approved for pediatrics. We talk about why, and a lot more is coming up in that interview in just a couple of days. Learning more about something called Forget Diabetes, Bionic Pancreas Initiative. This is a European Union project that aims to develop a long-term automated insulin delivery system for people with type 1. This sounds like a fully implantable system. The website says it is a lifelong lasting implanted glucose nanosensor, pump refilling through a weekly oral recyclable drug pill. A long way to go here, but they did announce that GlucoTrack's continuous blood glucose monitor will be integrated into the system. A newly recognized form of diabetes called type 5 was announced this week at the World Congress of Diabetes. A global task force will investigate this less understood condition, which differs from type 1 and type 2. Type 5 diabetes affects people who are underweight, lack a family history of diabetes, and do not show the typical symptoms of type 1 or type 2. The condition was first observed in the 1960s and referred to as J-type diabetes after being detected in Jamaica. It was classified by the World Health Organization in 1985, but removed in 1998 due to lack of evidence. At the time, experts believed it was just a misdiagnosed case of type 1 or type 2. New research has since confirmed type 5 is different. Oral semaglutide cuts major heart risks in people with type 2 by 14%. This is a new clinical trial, and the effect of oral semaglutide, the ingredient in Ozempic, on cardiovascular outcomes was consistent with other clinical trials involving the injectable version, but more study is needed now to determine if one method may be more effective than the other at reducing major cardiovascular events. And the US FDA is warning about fake versions of Ozempic. Novo Nordisk, the Danish-headquartered manufacturer, told the FDA that counterfeit 1 milligram injections of semaglutide were being distributed. The FDA and Novo are now testing the fake products to identify whether they are safe. If you're concerned, there are some numbers on the product that you can check out. We've got the phone number you can call, and side effects can be reported to the FDA's MedWatch Safety Information Program. Again, that is all linked up in the show notes. Celebrity author, model, and TV host Chrissy Teigen is speaking out about her son's type 1 diagnosis and teaming up with Sanofi to encourage people to screen early. She says the family knew nothing about type 1 when Miles was diagnosed during an unexpected medical emergency. She shared the family's story in a video on screenfortype1.com, a Sanofi website that talks about how to get screened for the condition. And finally, Dr. Richard Bernstein, best known for his advocacy around low-carb diets for people with diabetes, died this week at the age of 90. Born in 1934 in Brooklyn, he was diagnosed with type 1 at the age of 12. In the 1970s, he adapted a blood glucose monitor for home use and helped pioneer home glucose monitoring. He published multiple books on diabetes, including Dr. Bernstein's Diabetes Solution, a complete guide to achieving normal blood sugars, and Diabetes Type 2, Living a Long, Healthy Life Through Blood Sugar Normalization. He practiced and saw patients right up until his death. And that's it for In the News for this week. If you like it, please share it. I'll be back on Tuesday with our regular long-format interview show with Dexcom's Jake Leach, talking about the 15-day G7 sensor and a lot more. I'm Stacey Sims. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.